they said, well, they're just off half a cycle. And at 10 or 10 and a half cycles, whichever one it is, we happen to experience we humans experience the single most rhythmic, most balanced, most powerful brainwave we could possibly experience. When you look at a chart of EEG graphs of brain waves, when you get to the 10 to 10 and a half cycle point, the brain wave is just, it's very balanced, very rhythmic, it's totally different. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. You look at a chart of all of these brain waves, and boy, you can pick up alpha just instantly. I mean, it stands out. It's the single most powerful, most rhythmic brain wave any human can ever experience. And at that point, all healing responses are speeded up 5 to 10 times over normal. Okay? A lot of really nice things happen physiologically to us. When you're in alpha, especially at 10 and a half cycles, your brain chemicals begin becoming more harmonious. Your body begins storing higher levels of serotonin and dopamine. What's dopamine associated with? Feelings of bliss, of happiness, of just really good feelings. Same thing with serotonin. What do the antipsychotic drugs do? They suppress serotonin. No wonder people get so screwed up when they take antidepressants. And I think that's one of the reasons so many of them commit suicide and become so violent. And it's only taken 20 years for the pharmaceutical companies to become halfway starting to admit that. I mean, most of these antipsychiatric drugs, antidepressants, are called SSI, serotonin something or another uptake inhibitors. They're inhibiting the amount of serotonin that your body's creating, and no wonder people get screwed up and crazier. I mean, just think about the idea. A person is depressed. This is not the subject, but it's something that's bugs me and been bugging me for many years. A person is depressed, they go in to see their MD, their psychologist, psychiatrist, and they give them a drug. When the problem is spiritual. The problem's spiritual, it's not physical. So they're trying to cure a spiritual problem with a drug because, excuse my strong statement I'm going to make, because their technology has failed. Because they don't know how to handle it. We're not very good in this country with handling emotional problems. Anyway, so there's a very special place, the 10 and a half cycle point. When your brainwave dips below 7 cycles per second, the scientists would tell us you're now functioning in theta, the area in red. Theta, the area in red, another interconscious level, another level where humans can function consciously. Okay? It's much, much deeper than alpha. Excuse me, let me go back to alpha for a moment. I neglected to mention what else happens in alpha. When you come into alpha, you gain the ability to control your autonomic nervous system. Let me say that again. When you come into alpha, this is a scientific fact, okay? When you come into alpha, you gain the ability to control the autonomic nervous system. Now, if you're an RN or if you're an MD and went to medical school 30 years ago, you were taught that it's impossible to control the autonomic nervous system. That's only true for people who can't function in alpha. When you function in alpha, you can control the autonomic nervous system, which means you can control blood pressure. Controlling blood pressure is child's play in alpha. Absolutely impossible in beta. Okay? And I can't tell you how many hundreds of people I've taught with high blood pressure who've learned to control it simply and easily. One older gentleman, well, he's probably not as old as I am now, but when he was first in my class 35 years ago, older guy, he's probably 60, I'd call him a kid right now. Had high blood pressure, went through half of the training in which you learn to function in alpha. And during the week, he went over to HEB, you know, they got a little machine there where you can measure your blood pressure. And he said no one was around, so I stuck my fingers in, measured my blood pressure, wrote it down, closed my eyes, came into alpha, imagined my blood pressure being much lower, put my fingers back in the machine. He said, darn, it was lower. So I wrote that down. He said, I looked around, nobody was waiting in lines. Came to level. We call this coming to level. Excuse me, that's the phrase we use. Coming to level is your level within alpha, your level within theta. So he came back into level, into a meditative state, lowered his blood pressure again. Okay? It's child's play. You can stop bleeding, hemorrhaging. How quickly? A little bit faster than that, a little bit slower than that. About 3 clicks. You stop pain in alpha and in theta. Mild pain in alpha, heavy duty pain in theta. Because of the control of your autonomic nervous system. Okay? So see, we learn to change frequencies. We learn to do more with this vehicle our Creator gave us. Okay? Does this sound interesting to you? So, what's theta? What about theta? Well, first let me say alpha is just mild relaxation. It's mild relaxation. You've experienced alpha consciously, I'm sure, on mornings when you, maybe a Saturday or a Sunday morning on vacation, perhaps when you slept and you awaken naturally without an alarm clock, and you just lay there, no rush, no hurry, don't have a lot to do this morning, and so you just kind of lay there. You familiar with that feeling? Is it a good feeling? That's what alpha's like. In fact, some people say, this is not scientific, but some people say beta is a place to feel emotions. Alpha, no emotions, except just kind of, just pleasant. Pleasant. So if you're not feeling pleasant, you're probably in beta. If you're upset about work, you're damn sure in beta. If you're irritated with someone, you're in beta. If you're holding a grudge, you're in beta. If you're fearful, you're in beta. What about theta? Deeper than alpha. Oh, it's deep, 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 profoundly deep. So deep. Alpha, excuse me, I keep going back down, because alpha is kind of the heart of what we teach, what I teach. And it's where you can do so very, very much in your life. And they say that in alpha, the mind operates deductively. The mind's like a sponge. When you're in alpha, your mind's like a sponge. It just absorbs information quickly, readily. When we're in delta, you're not capable of analytical thinking. If you're doing heavy duty delta, high percentage of theta, you can't ask questions. You can't be analytical. Okay? And it's real easy to go off into a daydream or to have mystical experiences. The experiences of the saints and of mystics, experiences of ecstasy and joy are usually when a person is functioning in theta. Have you ever read of the lives of saints or people having periods of ecstasy and deep joy? If you put a EEG on them, you're going to find more than likely they're in theta. Theta extends from 4 to 7 cycles a second. The chart tells us that theta is for painless surgery, dentistry, childbirth. painless childbirth. That is, people have used hypnosis for years to take people that are really afraid of dentistry. For example, some people are just horrified of going to a dentist. And so sometimes some dentist or a private hypnotist would hypnotize the individual and tell them that they can go in and they're going to go in and have this work done, and they're going to be calm, they're going to be peaceful, there's nothing to be upset about. And in fact, I have a friend who had periodontal gum surgery with no anesthetic at all, and they put up one entire half of a quadrant of his gum, upper gum. They cut it all. He had no surgery. I mean, he had no anesthetic whatsoever and minimal bleeding. Okay, and that's how I got my dentist to take the Silva Method. When he saw that, he said, "Oh my God, I don't believe it." I said, "Well, I'm only going to let you do half of it." But you just come to theta and you shut off the discomfort. Okay? Now delta. Oh, I should have mentioned that, guess what? These areas, alpha is where dreams occur. Okay? And there's been a tremendous amount of research. That's what this chart's about. We're not going to discuss that today. But the research that's been done reveals that dreams occur when you're in alpha. I think they also occur in theta. It's just that they didn't research it.